Welcome to the very first battle report for MC1 Gamer. That's me, Mitch. This is my YouTube channel. I've been playing Warhammer for many years, but I took probably good over a decade off and just returned to the game a year ago or so, and have been watching a number of YouTubers who have great battle reports, great analysis, great breakdowns on armies, and some incredible narrative campaigns. People like Matiram with a wonderful campaign, Lord Tremendous, Sustainable Center, Malorian, Once Bitten, Luke Davis, Long Island Wargaming, Casual. I know I'm leaving people out, but there's just a lot of people that I've been watching and I've been interacting with on their channels and on Google Plus, and I just got the bug and I decided I wanted to start throwing out some content of my own. So I decided to start with this particular campaign that I've gotten involved with in the North Jersey area at a couple of places that I game at, but one in particular, the only game in town, gentleman Greg, who is running a campaign with 4 specific armies. I'm playing a Vampire Counts army with a Mousillon theme, so if you don't know what that is, it's a Bretonnian themed army that is undead. And the other armies are a Slannesh army from Demons of Chaos, which I'm going to be competing with in this particular scenario. And then there's an Orcs and Goblin army and an Empire army. So everybody's agreed to and said it's okay to put up pictures for for any of the games that are against me. And Greg is totally cool with the idea of narrating some of the scenario information that he's put out. He's put out some very creative writing. So let's get to it. And this one is my Vampire Counts army against the Demons of Slannesh. So, the scenario 1, The Gathering Dark, Demons of Chaos Slannesh. Sakaria has received her orders from her Divine Master, but as always, Slannesh's attention wandered quickly away, and the Herald was left to her own means to engineer a way for Slannesh's armies to manifest in the material world. Thankfully, Sakaria did not have to look far in order to find an entry point. Searching the ineffable eddies of the warp, the Temptress was surprised to discover a weak point in the barrier between her master's realm and the real world, even though she had trodden the path many times before. When she peered through the veil that separated the two worlds, she understood what had happened. The point of juncture that had capped the elves of Ulthuan, but now the magic that sustained their barrier had fallen away. The winds of magic blew strongly through the hole, providing plenty of power for her demonic cohort to manifest. Sakaria wasted no time gathering the forces bequeathed to her by Slannesh and headed through the breach. So, the scenario information as written from my army, the Vampire Counts, as follows. The masters of the Cursed Crusade were in full flight. The armies of the Bretonnian king and his dukes had smashed their hordes of vampire-led undead. Thankfully, some of the dark generals of that army were not without resource. Remembering ancient trails and forgotten mountain passages that had long since passed from the memories of living men, a fraction of the army managed to escape the pass unseen into the lands of the Empire. Hiding in the Drockwald forest, the splinter of the Cursed Crusade looked desperately for something to replenish its numbers. After weeks of avoiding larger hordes of beastmen and greenskin, its ghostly scouts finally reported some good news. Just south of the walled town of Isenbutil, that's a $25 handle, there had been a huge battle between Imperial forces and some Orcs and Goblins. Some Orcs and Goblins? The ground was strewn with piles of fresh corpses, all ready to be reanimated and put to use. Necromancers serving the army's generals warned that the ruins in the midst of the battlefield were emanating strange magics, and that attempted to collect the dead bodies and may be dangerous. But the crusade was in dire straits and needed to replenish its numbers. With no other recourse, a way was charted through the Drockwald to the strange elven ruins. So here's a picture of the battlefield, and to give you a little bit of information more, it's strewn with forests, which is going to make it difficult for any normal cavalry, any chariots, and that will definitely come into play during the scenario. I have 1,500 points to start with, and I of course can raise more, I replenish my ranks with invocations. But my opponent, he actually starts with 1,000 points, and his army is going to then get 2 waves of 500-point reinforcements on turn 4, and then on turn 2, and then on turn 4. So let's go take a look again a little further into the battlefield. There's a column in the center. That's the Elven Ruin. He must port his units into within 6 inches of that holy, so the unit cannot be beyond that point. And he will initially deploy his 1,000 points around these ruins. Now that presents me with a number of advantages, and I know where he's going to be roughly. It also provides him with an advantage because his reinforcements can pop up later in the game in places that could present me with some serious challenges, where he could potentially see my flank or a rear. What happens is I then will deploy on one of the table edges that he will choose. In each of the the battlefield will be broken out into thirds, and in each of those thirds will be a poker chip, and that represents these corpses that have been left over from the Imperial and Orcs and Goblins battle, and there's magics emanated about them, and there's advantages if he can destroy them, and there's advantages if I can capture them. So if I have any unit that goes within an inch of them, I will immediately obtain the corpse, and I will get 100 points at the end of the battle for victory points. If he destroys them, I'm denied that. And if he ends the game with any unit within an inch of the center ruins, he'll get 300 points. So this is a big challenge for me. I'll start off with more units than him, more points. He's going to get some fresh units throughout, and of course my big challenge is, can I raise enough units and sustain enough damage while doing enough damage to him to overcome this? So here is my deployment, and just to go over a little bit of my army, I have, and some of this stuff, by the way, is proxied, so I'll explain that. And also, I apologize in advance. Some of these pictures are a little bit bright, and I've tried to tweak them a little bit. Please forgive me for that. I realized after this old digital camera that I had died, that when I started using my actual smartphone camera, that the smartphone camera was better. You live and you learn. Hey, it's my first battle report. If I have a case of the ums, also please forgive me. Let's go over this. I'm using, with a number of conversions, my Hex Wraiths instead of my Black Knights. I haven't completed building them. So that black figure in the center is actually my White King. So I have a unit of Black Knights and a White King leading it. He has the Night Shroud, and the unit itself has the Banner of the Barrow, so everybody gets +1. What's a huge advantage here is that they also have Skeletal Steeds, which allows for the ethereal rule when moving through any terrain, so they basically ignore terrain issues. And you can see that I'm actually deployed deep within a forest, and that was intentional. My opponent chose for me to go and take the long table edge, which denied me the ability to spread out. It actually benefited me because I was all compact around my general, so I could march much more easily. But it did make it harder for me to really collect all 3 tokens. I'm right up next to one of them, so I get that benefit. But I'm not going to be able to easily get to all 3 of them. In which case I would have had a much better time if I was deployed along the long table edge. So I have I'm deployed into the forest, because if I don't get the first turn and he does happen to bring in chariots or cavalry, then he's going to have a hard time marching through there or charging through there. So I wanted to take advantage of the actual terrain, since I had the disadvantage of being on the short table edge. I have a unit of dogs, which my intention is to vanguard them up and try to swing around and go and run as far as I can towards the far corpse pile. And I have what looks like a bunch of Pegasi, but those are actually Fellbats. Those are my Fell Pegasi. I have a converted Griffin that I'm using as a Vargulf, so I have some natty wings that I'm going to be adding to it because they shouldn't be flying, but it's Bretonnian theme. And I have also a mashed up men-at-arms and zombie bits that I put together for a nice unit of zombies. That's my bunker. And in there is my general, which is my Master Necromancer, Victoria Coupe de la Mort. And my White King, by the way, his name is Captain Hieronymus Stone. We were asked to all name everybody, so because there's implications for over the course of the campaign on each of your characters, if they die, if they have heroic events or whatnot. And I also have a second level Necromancer in there. Oh, I forgot to mention, my general is a level 4. And my Necromancer, Melina Lemaraes, excuse me, is a second level Necromancer, all of for the lore of vampires. So both of my casters are in that bunker unit. And next to that is a ghoul unit, which has about 26 or 28 ghouls. My general has the Talisman of Preservation and the Black Parapet, so I can store 2 dice. I'm looking to try and dominate the magic phase, so I can keep maintaining the size of my army, bring back any casualties and wounds that have been caused, and try to raise up more. And I have a Dispel Scroll on my level 2. And here is the deployment of my opponent. A great guy, Eric. He played an incredible game, and he's a lot of fun. And he decided to put 2 units of fiends right up in the front, knowing that if I do get first turn and I charge, that he'll be able to try and hold me back with the higher toughness of his options and some multiple wounds. And he's put himself right between me and that corpse pile. You can see up north of the ruins is a unit of Seekers, and then he has a very sizable unit of Demonettes. And in the back to the left, behind the ruins, is another unit of Fiends, which I imagine he's going to use to just try and sprint towards the far corpse pile. I start off the game with my ghouls sitting basically right in front of one of the corpse piles, so I automatically get 100 victory points before the game even starts. Here's a picture of my spells. I really did well when I rolled my spells. Being that I have a level 4 and a level 2, I really couldn't have done poorly. I had almost the entire range of vampire spells, so I had my Invocation, I have the Van Hale's Dance, I have Cursed of Years, which I know my opponent's going to fear, probably the best spell other than Invocation in the vampire lore, and I have Raised Dead, which is essential for bringing in new units, and I'm definitely going to try to use that to my benefit to try and outmaneuver and outflank my opponent. On my level 2, I have also Invocation and Gaze of Nagash, which is a magic missile type spell. My opponent only has 1 caster, and he doesn't even start on the board. He's very expensive, so my opponent opted for him to come in on his first round of reinforcements. He's only a level 1, so he only has 1 spell, and of course, he was lucky enough to pick Cacophonic Choir, which is a killer spell, so we'll see if he actually gets to get that off. And he picked with his gifts for his general, he was able to get this rope lash or whiplash, which he was able to use as a ranged attack. And this really is kind of scary because it could do 2d6 wounds. I forget what the strength was. It might have been 3 or 4, but it was really scary if he was able to get close enough. And his entire army is armor piercing. Even though they're low strength, they still have a really good chance to blow through some of the armor on some of my units. So I vanguarded up my dogs. Again, I know that I'm in charge range of these, potential charge range of these Demonettes, and certainly within their arc. I figured that if he did try to charge the dogs, he could fail, which would give me a wonderful flank charge for countercharge with my Black Knights. And if he didn't do it, then, and even if he got in there, I could still really have a wonderful flank charge with the Black Knights. But if he didn't bother, then I could try to swing around. I mean, the direwolves have a really good move. Even if they're out of march range of the general, they still get a move of 9. So I actually get turn 1, and this is awesome. Not only do I get to move first, charge first, I also have absolute domination of the magic phase. So I duck to charge with just about everything I can on that front unit of Fiends. My goal is to really first try with the Black Knights. If the Black Knights fail, then the others potentially could get in there, and I'm hoping that I can get a unit in there, crush those Fiends, and overrun into the chip or overrun into the other Fiends behind them. and I'm going to roll first with the Black Knights. If they make it in, the other two are definitely going to fail, which I don't have a problem with. They'll move up a little bit, which is fine, but I really want to get those Black Knights in there because they're wide enough that I think that I can connect with the Fiend unit behind there, or at the very least overrun into the corpse pile, and I've good backup options. And we can see here that I made it in. So the Vargulf and the ghouls do not. They fail, which is, again, okay. They're in decent position. I'm in a little bit blocked off with my Vargulf, but he can easily get in there, get in charge on those other fiends if those fiends decide to move up. And I move up my bunker with my casters, and you can see that I have a Fellbat unit that Fell Pegasi that I moved up to try and chaff up those Seekers. Of course, I didn't forgotten that they are also fast calves, so they could just basically move right around me. But they couldn't charge my Black Knights, and I also gained that corpse marker. So another 100 points for me. And as you can see here, I move my dogs up and around the Demonettes, so they're not within charge range. They're not moving as fast as they normally do because they can't march, but they're definitely going to try and make an end run for that third corpse pile token. And I roll an absolute monster magic phase. I get 11 for the power pool, the Winds of Magic. I even channel, so I'm rocking 6 dice. And that's gonna be pretty bad news for my opponent, because the first thing I do is I drop Gaze and Nagash on that Slannesh unit, and I obliterate it. There's one that's left, but it's basically ineffective at this point. I think even those Fell Pegasi can probably take it at this point. And next I summon another unit of zombies, and I go ahead and cast Invocation. So I grow my bunker, I grow that unit, so it's a pretty sizable unit. I do make a mistake here. As you can see, the Vargulf is blocked off. He can't effectively make any kind of charge, so I'm just going to have to move him around and hopefully get off to the side. And if I had any foresight, I would probably have put him at either side of that new zombie unit, so he could have marched. He could have charged in either on either of those other fiend groups. But what I was looking to do was try to put some kind of roadblock in case that unit of zombies just got completely steamrolled, so that he couldn't just run right into my bunker with a really good overrun. And of course, my bunker grows with yet another invocation. And my knights just win that combat easily. And I decide to reform. I'm expecting that fiend unit is going to crash into my zombies. My zombies are chaffing him up a little bit. I know he doesn't have a couple of bases there, but we measured it out, and we could see that if he tried to wheel, he'd hit the zombie unit. So he's really going to be forced to hit that zombie unit, which is going to block off his Demonettes. So I figured I could follow up even if he destroys the zombie unit, then I can follow up with the Black Knights. If I can tar pit him, I've got a wonderful flank charge, and I'll delete those fiends. So Demons turn 1. Obviously his fiends on the other side of the ruins are going to go for that corpse pile. And he charges just like I expected into my zombie bunker. And sorry for the blurry picture here. His fast cav just swing right around my Fellbats and try to chaff up my Black Knights. And I didn't expect this. He took his Demonettes and moved them just a little further back. And I guess he's looking to give himself a little more room, so that if everything kind of stays where it is right now with the tar pit of zombies, he has room to bring in, when he ports in on the follow-up turn, some of his units even in front of those Demonettes. And that could be really spell pretty bad news for my Black Knights. So I lose some zombies, but I don't lose the combat entirely, because the zombies are still there, and that's really what they're for. And Vampire Count's turn 2. Of course, I have to clear the chaff, so I charge in to that lone Slannesh unit. He's immune to psychology. He cannot flee. He has to kind of take it. And I moved my, I've already paid for my Fellbats, and I felt that because I've already got 100 points for what essentially is a 32-point unit, even though I could kind of take risks with them now, I wanted to try and block off the options that he has for his porting units. The next turn he's going to get those units to port in. They're going to be probably in my flank or my rear. It's scary what he might be bringing in. So I just wanted to put those Fellbats in there to kind of chaff him up. If he did have to destroy them, then he would at least be positioned to a point where he could just run into my Black Knights. And I summon a brand new unit of zombies. And as far as the combat is concerned, his champion, which was the only one left of the Seekers, challenged laid out a challenge, and my White King, of course, answered, and I just wrecked him. I had the Night Shroud, so I forced him to always strike last, and I killing blowed him right off the bat. Demon turn 2, and he of course brings in another unit of Seekers and his general. He ports in exactly where I was worried that he might, and my Fellbats are there to meet him and kind of ruin his day. Of course, I again forgot these are fast cav, so they're not exactly going to have to stay there. I didn't really chaff them up too much. And my overrun on the Black Knights, I decided to fully overrun. This is a little bit out of order. This happened prior to the port, but the reason why I did this is because I didn't want to give him a chance to bring something in right in front of my Black Knights. He couldn't do it to the lower left, so he had to either go behind the ruins on the other side, where maybe behind his Demonettes, or on the other side of my Fellbats. I didn't want to take a chance because when he ports in, the big advantage he has is he can still take a full move. He can take a full march move, or he can charge. And if I gave him the space to do that, then he of course would rip right through those Black Knights. So, needless to say, he poured it in with all these fast cav, and they just did an end run right around my Fellbats. And lo and behold, of course, what is he going to do? He's going to go and try and he's going to try to sack the quarterback. So he goes right for my bunker. And the fiends that were in the back on the other side that got the third corpse, they move up, so now they're a threat on this flank. But fortunately, I have my Vargulf there. The dogs are there just to kind of be a speed bump. And he has this effect that happens depending on what he rolls for the Winds of Magic, and in this case most of them really didn't come into play and they didn't do much, but the ones that really mattered was this Nurgle's Rot, and it kills a bunch of zombies, but he had no other magic. He wasn't able to cast anything else. I think he tried to 6 dice Caconic Choir, and he just failed. And after close combat again, my tar pit of zombies is still working. I'm kind of chaffing up his. I'm blocking off his Demonettes. They really can't get into the fight because they can't really get around what's just a logjam in the middle here. So Vampire counts turn 3. I charge with my ghouls into the back of his general's unit. I know they're going to probably lose this. My feeling is that if I don't do this, he's going to charge into my bunker unit. Even though it's a huge zombie unit, he'll get a flank charge, and both my casters are in there. And if they get stuck in combat, they're going to get challenged, they're going to die, they're not combat characters. I need to just hold him up. So if I can just keep those ghouls alive one turn, I can find a way to make sure that he does not just immediately get my general and my only other caster stuck in a close combat. And I brought up another unit of zombies that during the magic phase that then I look to charge into the flank of these fiends. So I've got a unit that of zombies on them already, but they're dying pretty fast. And also there's a -1 to their weapon skill, so I'm really just counting on rank bonuses. I just wanted to get the flank and the charge, and hopefully I can get some wounds on these guys and just hold them up a little bit more. I do not want them getting free reign so they could charge into the front of my general's unit. And my Vargulf, we did measure this out. He was in. We have an arc of visibility like most people do, and so we were able to determine that my arc was enough so that I could see those fiends. So I charged my Vargulf in there. They came from, I'm weak on the outside. The direwolves are not going to do much to help out. So I wanted to make sure that I got my Vargulf in there to kind of hold them off. And I felt that my Vargulf, he's pretty decent for 175 points. I don't usually take one. Sometimes if I take one, I'll take two. I don't usually take them at all. But for these purposes, I think that it's a pretty good matchup for me. And I moved both of my necromancers out. I moved my general to the lower part. My general, Tori is the one in white. I'm sorry again for the kind of overly bright flash here. Pictures are going to get better, especially in future battle reports. But I wanted also to put my level 2 in a way such that if his general with the seekers that are above that zombie unit on the upper right, if they manage to come down that way, at least I'll have maybe they'll munch that level 2 necromancer first before my general. And I reformed my Black Knights. I was also able to get off a Bubble Van Hels, by the way, so I can get rerolls, which is really important. And I reformed my zombies. I figure that if he's going to charge, after maybe dealing with those ghouls, he's going to charge into my zombies. I thought about putting them into a bus formation, but I just wanted to try and make it harder for him to get around this unit, so that if he does delete those ghouls and he starts trying to move around them as a fast cav, he's not going to get to my general immediately. It'll be a little bit harder and he'll have a little more range. I just fully expect this unit to also go down fighting, but go down pretty hard. And as I said, I got a Bubble Van Hels off. I need these rerolls to hit because I just want these ghouls to survive past this turn. And I summoned yet another zombie unit. I'm just ruling the magic phase. I think it was a big mistake him getting only one caster at level 1, but I think he was, because of the army list, he wasn't able to do more than that. He just didn't have the points. Even at 2,000 points total, he just couldn't do it. This really gave me a huge advantage, and I'm just building up zombie units left and right and just growing them like crazy. And as you can see here, I'm growing even more zombies. I had to pull out some unit fillers. I have a whole bag of unbuilt zombies, just the bodies on the bases. But I've not had a situation where I've had to really pull these guys out. I mean, I think I have about 200 or 300 zombies. I didn't even bring that many because all I had was a 1,500 point game, but I'll know that for the future. Now I know what Sustainable Center means by, in the middle of every battle report, when he's recording his audio, his phone goes off. Because in the midst of this one, I think that's the 3rd or 4th time that I've gotten my tones. Okay, so moving on, my ghouls really kind of take a ton of casualties, but they do exactly what I was hoping they would do. They stick. They stay alive. I didn't lose them all, and they even managed to get off a wound on his general, and his general only has 2 wounds. And the Vargulf and the Fiend kind of exchanged some wounds. I took 2 wounds here. He only has 5, so I'm a little bit concerned because not only does he have those Fiends there, but the 2 Fiends remaining, but he also has a huge unit of Demonettes that could flank charge me. I'm not worried about losing getting a flank. I'm not going to get. He's not going to get a +1 for flanking me, but look at how many Demonettes there are. I just lose my Vargulf, but I just needed to stop these guys and kind of put a threat on that side of the board. So Demon turn 3, and Nurgle Rot hits again and takes a chunk of my ghouls away. And I lose, not only do I lose some zombies, but I lose my level 2 Necro. Fortunately, my general did not go. I think my general may have taken a wound, which is not a problem, because I'll just heal that up in future rounds after a few casting. And he gets off Cacophonic Choir on these zombies. I know it looks like they're in combat, but he reformed them. He only reformed his unit. He didn't actually charge in on me, and he actually put his general all the way out to my right, so that if my Black Knights do charge in, the general is out. I mean, I'll challenge anyway, but the bottom line is that it would be less likely that his general would take a wound, depending on what the circumstances. I guess he could go feed me one of his champion. But the idea being that he wanted to get a rank bonus in case my zombies charged in as well. But he 6-diced the Cacophonic Choir, and he got a really good roll, and I got a horrible roll in dispelling it. And of course I forgot that I had a dispel scroll, so it went off. And what sucks about this spell is the next turn that unit has random movement, which is really, really bad, especially considering that I wanted to try and just block off this unit and hold it down with and tar pit it. And not only did my zombie unit get hit with it, but my Black Knights got hit with it, and I just wanted to move this unit in and just take out his general and these cav. I just figured if I could take him out, that's just the game. He could bring in some reinforcements, but his general's gone, and that just didn't happen because next turn I'm going to be randomly moving. And his Seekers just wipe out the ghouls. You know, I mean, they did their job. They made their sacrifice. It's a lot of points. It's like just under 300 points. But you know what? At least he didn't just swoop right around and get a free shot off on my general. So my zombies again lose, but not by enough. I'm not really worried about losing them, but I don't want him to get down too far. He did charge in with his demonettes, but for some reason he must have flubbed the rolls, and I was able to stick in. And the Fiend group loses 2 models to my Vargulf, but you know, again, I wanted to finish them off. I was hoping that at least if I could remove these fiends, that I can my Vargulf now could just lay waste to his backfield to do a rear charge or really threaten anything that might port in afterwards. But unfortunately, I'm locked in with these fiends now. So Vampire counts turn 4, and my zombies are within range. We have an arc of visibility, so we really could tell whether or not I was within. I really could see the rear of his fiend, and of course I charged them. I'm not really concerned as much that I might lose a few of these zombies. I just wanted that rear charge, the rear +2 and the charge, because I just need to get rid of this fiend. And I moved my dogs off to the side just because, again, I want to make it more difficult if those Seekers move around to try and make a run for my general. But that random movement just killed me. My zombies had to move 2 inches to the left, which just made it impossible for any chance for my Black Knights to get in on his Seekers and finish off his general. And of course, not only that, but my Black Knights also had to go to the left when we did the random movement, so that kind of sucked. And I was looking to, and this is just a shot of the battlefield up to this point. And I managed to not only raise dead to pull up another unit of zombies, which I'm hoping to get my general to jump into, but I'm also increasing with invocation the size of these units and replenishing some of my losses. And I also managed to heal up my Vargulf, which kind of needed it. I mean, he only had 2 wounds missing, but with all the castings and the attribute, he got up to full, and I could use that without a doubt, because for some reason I just cannot finish off this fiend. And I got Curse of Years off. I mean, this is a huge block of demonettes. This unit of demonettes even grew. He even added some on from some effect that happened during the game. So it was even bigger than it started out with. But I managed to get Curse of Years off, and this is going to be a serious threat because there's a lot of rolls. He loses 6 of them, and it's just going to get worse every turn. So again, my Vargulf is having a little bit of a pillow fight with this unkillable fiend. And more zombies I lose, but serious losses, some crumbling. But even so, I'm not. They're not gone. They're still there, so they're still kind of holding them up. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So Daemons turn 4, and he gets to port in the remainder of his army, which is a Hellflayer Chariot, which is very scary because look where it is. It's right behind my Black Knight unit, and another very large block of Demonettes. So I'm glad they're on that side of the table because my general's far, far away, but I have a feeling that my Black Knights might be in real trouble here. So his Hellflayer Chariot, of course, charges the back of my Black Knights. This may not go well. And his general, I did not really expect him to do this. I expected him to come after my general, but he took his general completely out of the unit and swooped it, of course, around everything that I had hoped to put in his way because he just has tremendous movement, and he put him right within range of that lash, which really sucked. By the way, that green token there is just a symbol of the Curse of Years that's on the Demonettes. So he goes and he tries to lash my general, and he rolls really poorly, and he doesn't wound on the ones that he does roll. He rolls very low, and he manages to get only 1 through after I get my 4+ ward save, which was just awesome because I was looking at the end of the game here. If he managed to just lash my general and kill off my general, then everything was going to start crumbling, and thankfully I managed to avoid that. And his Seeker unit runs away. I guess he's looking to preserve some of these points. So his second Demonette unit moves around to threaten my Black Knights. They're already charged in the rear, and now even if they manage to survive this, I've got a huge block of Demonettes that are probably going to come flank them, and that's a lot of points there. That's a lot of Black Knights and my White King, so I'm really concerned about this. But luck was on my side. He flubs his impact hits, rolls real low, rolls poorly to wound. I managed to save a whole bunch of them that did of what he did wound, and even though I had a huge minus to my armor save, and he only gets 2 wounds through. So I didn't get the rank, but my attacks back managed to win me the fight, and I reformed to face him. But I still have those Demonettes looking at my flank, so I've got to figure out something to do to answer that. And that Fiend is still alive. I mean, I know he was initially going after just my Vargulf, threw a couple of wounds on it. I managed to bring that back with invocations or attributes rather from casting, but we're just kind of like just playing. It's just a tickle fight. There's nothing going on here, and it's just very frustrating because I need to get that Vargulf free. So my zombie unit is wiped. You can see that it's gone there, and there's just 4 zombies left in the other one. So we managed to finally just start ripping through the zombies. I mean, zombies are weapon skill 1, always strike last. I'm actually reduced by -1 because of those fiends. It's an awful situation, but you know what? They kind of did their job. I just really would love to try and find a way to hold up these Demonettes, and my Vargulf is not getting free, and there's just no other zombies standing in their way, and of course my general's now completely out in the open. So Vampire counts turn 5. I need to get help for these 4 lonely zombies that have just really overperformed for me, with their whole unit in fact. So my Fel Pegasi excuse me, they are not in the category of these fiends, but I figure I get a charge, I get a flank, I'll get a couple of hits, and he doesn't have the Demonettes in there to get those rank bonuses. So if I can get him in there and just cause a few wounds, this one fiend has 1 wound left. So I went for broke, and those Pegasi already paid for themselves. And then I managed to get my dogs with a huge 18-inch move because they were within range of my general to march, and I swooped them around my zombie bunker and put them just where they could chaff up this Demonette unit, so they can't wheel around and then charge my Black Knights in the flank on his follow-up turn. and my zombies reform and look to move forward so that I can try to meet my general who needs a safe haven here. And I managed to do just that. So I swing over, join that zombie unit. It's a huge bunker. It's just what I needed if his general tries to use that lash again. And then I get a huge magic phase again, just in time. I do use invocation to restore another Pegasus, one of the Fel Pegasi that was lost in the combat against that fiend. I grow up a whole bunch more zombies, grow my bunker. I think I lost some Black Knights. I brought those back. So it was just a great phase to just bring me back from the brink, because I was on the ropes for the last turn or two. And I throw down another bubble Van Hales because I just need those rerolls. And the Black Knight unit just wipes out the Hellflayer. Now this is great because the Hellflayer was really his answer to try and just remove my entire Black Knight unit, or at least to put enough hurt on them that they were going to be manageable by his Demonettes. But the fact that I was able to survive his initial turn now and then grow them back, he had taken a couple of wounds previously, and now I was just able to finish him off. I just still can't kill this unkillable fiend. It's amazing. He's still got 2 more wounds left on him, and despite the fact that I've got a Vargulf with 5 attacks, I think I was removed. I was one less weapon skill. I was just rolling horribly. But I finally kill off the other fiend, and I just needed those points. This is kind of getting close. I didn't get all the 3 of the corpse piles, so I just needed to get this one last fiend, the Fel Pegasi, come through again. I love it. The unit of zombies is still there, so they're going to be able to just kind of hold up the Demonettes if the Demonettes decide to come and move in on my general and his zombie bunker. And the Demonettes on the north part of the board decide that he's just looking for points here, so he can't get in on my Black Knights. So he decides that he has to remove the dogs as a chaff. I mean, it's not a lot of points, but get him out of the way, and then maybe he can actually make a move on my Black Knights. And of course, he does that very easily. Just removes the entire unit of dogs. And finally, my Vargulf puts down this fiend. I needed these points too, but he finally puts away the unkillable fiend. And we have to call the game. I was on the ropes for a little bit. I started to make a comeback. We were supposed to go to 6 turns, but we only went to 5 because it was getting really late and the place was looking to close. But we had a great game. Eric's a great guy. I thought it was a fantastic scenario. This was something really different from what just lining up and having a battle line, or even some of the other scenarios that you see in the campaign book. I love things that are just different, that kind of make you use your units in different ways. I know Malorian's always talking about that, and I am absolutely in his camp. So this was a great win for the Vampire Counts. I will say this: the reward that I got for successfully for winning this campaign, and I only won by about 170 points, something along those lines, which is a victory. But the game just felt a lot closer than that, and it could have swung either way once we got to like turn 3 or 4. The reward I got was a ridiculous reward. I think it was actually a little over the top, but I managed to get because of these irradiated or magic infused corpses, I now get a boost to all of my raises and my invocations for healing or raising new units of +1 to the result based on the turn. So if it's turn 6, any of my castings for invocation, healing back, or raising new units is substantially increased. As the game goes on, it's better. So that's going to be a huge benefit for me in future scenarios for this campaign, and I cannot wait to see how this shakes out for the next one. So this was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As you can see, the pictures got a lot better once I moved over to my smartphone. If you made it to this point, you get a cookie, And if you like this and you want to see more, please feel free to comment, and I hope you subscribe. And I look forward to the next one. Thanks very much.